Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a different summer recommendation video. I have some favorite fragrances that are challenging scents that work beautifully in hot and humid weather, summertime weather. And instead of sharing freshies and florals and compliment getting scents, I wanted to just pick out some of the more challenging scents, or at least compositions that you wouldn't think would work in summertime, or notes or parts of it that don't quite feel that it would be good for hot and humid summer weather, and share those with you guys today. So we're going to talk about some challenging and complex fragrances that are good for summer. So let's get into the video. It's not a top 10 list. I am not going to be going into the notes, the breakdown, the longevity. If I have reviews of any of these, I will link them below. I do not want this video to be a long video. Instead, I want to share some different scents that you might not see in top 10 recommendation videos or recommendation summer scent videos. And that's fine, because sometimes people want to smell a little bit different. They might not think about these notes, these styles of perfumery, and living in a state where it is like 24/7 swamp tropical weather. I do have a lot of experience wearing these scents in a more summertime environment. Now, a lot of times people will have a fragrance rotation that is based on beating the heat in summertime. They want something fresh, revitalizing, transportive, something that's not too heavy or too suffocating. They will stay away from very heavy, thick gourmands, maybe ouds and leathers and tobaccos, and work on more fresh, woody aromatics, citruses, and bright flowers. And some of these scents do have that, but some notes might make it feel like it might not be the perfect, like, summertime appropriate scent. The first one I want to talk about is actually one that I'm going to be doing an entire video talking about this house, this nose, and how they approach this specific note. And that is Francis Kurkdjian and how he approaches oud. And I have Oud Silk Mood. Now, specifically with Oud Silk Mood, the reason why this is a great scent, but it is on the more challenging side, the oud, is because this is a more aromatic and lighter, fresher oud than more traditional ouds you find out there. And I don't want to go too into my thoughts on this, because I do have an entire video planned where I break down every single one of his oud fragrances and talk about how he approaches oud, how he represents oud, how he celebrates oud. But specifically, if you are a complex fragrance lover, if you like woody aromatic fragrances, if you like complex challenging scents, if you like aromatic fragrances, if you love oud in general and you feel like you have to put those fragrances away in the summertime, Oud Silk has a clarity to it and doesn't have this stuffy heaviness that other oud fragrances can have, that makes this beautiful and work very well in hot summertime weather. So this is definitely one that I wear and love. I have a small one of their travel atomizers of this that I wear, which is why this bottle doesn't look like I use it too much. I have a small travel atomizer that I have in my bag. That is what I usually wear of that. Oud Silk Mood, that is definitely one that you might not think, but this scent you might think, oh yeah, that would definitely be good for summer, but there are some aspects to this that do make it more of a challenging summer scent, but something that I love, and it's Mystic Pearl from Raw Spirit. Now this has more of a saltiness to it. It kind of smells like what you think a pearl would smell like, and as somebody who works with pearl jewelry, it's one of my jobs, I do know that pearls have kind of a salty brininess to them when you smell them. And when you have like a gas pearl, like when you're drilling through it and it's empty inside, that is not a nice smell. That is not what I'm talking about with this. This has a very realistic ocean marine vibe to it, that when you smell it on the cap or on a strip, it can seem a little bit too briny, a little bit too realistic in regards to smelling like the sea. But on the skin, the saltiness takes on more of a sexy skin-like feel, and it just smells really, really good. But for some people, that brininess can be a little too much, which is why this is the more of a challenging summertime scent, but it is actually very easy to wear. And I don't think many people talk about raw spirit fragrances, but Mystic Pearl is really beautiful and very special. This is also a very shared scent. I would say it borderlines more on masculine. The way it smells more aromatic and salty and briny. One I didn't think I was going to include in this video, but I really wanted to because I just think it's fantastic, is Chanel number 18. Now, the reason why I wanted to include this one is because this is just a perfect fragrance, in my opinion, if you want something unique but still smells fantastic on the skin. And I didn't want to just include something fresh, something woody, something aromatic, something a little bit different. I wanted to include something that people don't really talk about that much, but I think definitely deserves more of a kind of spotlight put on it. And this really is all about the ambrette. It's warm, it's alien, it's also cool at the same time. And the reason why this is challenging is because it really puts a huge, and I mean huge, spotlight on ambrette. And I think some people like that, and some people don't expect that note to be center stage, especially from a Chanel fragrance. And I talk about this all the time whenever I talk about this. This smells more like what you would expect a Mugler body suit to smell like. And Muglers, sometimes their fragrances smell more like what you would expect like a Chanel body, tweed jacket to smell like. It's kind of like a little bit disjointing. This doesn't smell like Chanel. It smells a little bit different, a little bit alien, a little bit cold steel, but it is so beautiful, and that cooling, soft sensuality that ambrette has works so beautifully in the summer, and it is a little bit different than the cooling, refreshing, energizing notes that you would expect in more traditional summer fragrances like citruses and green teas and bright grassy scents. It's just so beautiful and special, and I love it, and I do like to wear this one a lot in summer. I wanted to include a more ozonic fragrance in this video because I think ozonic fragrances are something that I genuinely just adore, and this fragrance is one of my most favorite ozonic scents, and it's Sacred Water from The Harmonist. I talk about this fragrance when I review it, and every time, kind of like the Aquarian Rose from Strange Invisible, this smells like what you would think a cave would smell like. It's minerally and dusty and damp, and it's so good on the skin. It just blooms and blossoms and smells sexy. And if you want an aquatic fragrance on the skin, but again, you don't want your stereotypical bright, fresh scent on the skin, and you like those more ozonic, minerally dusty scents, but you want one that's going to work in heat and humidity, the Harmonist Sacred Water is excellent. And last, and certainly not least, I wanted to include one of the most challenging fragrances in my collection, and one that just works just so well, and it's from Olympic Orchids, and it's Tropic of Capricorn. This smells like a rainforest, and you are surrounded by rotting fruit in the most pleasant, attractive, and beautiful way possible. And when I did my last kind of answering your questions video, I was talking about fecal notes, and I know there was a bit of a kind of people agreeing and disagreeing with my opinion on fecal notes. And when I like talking about those videos is I love the commentary and the conversation that comes up. Just because I think a certain way most definitely does not make it correct. But when I talk about like when you walk around in nature and smelling what nature can smell like, Olympic Orchids, just this is what it is right here. This smells almost like a photorealistic experience of walking through someplace damp and lush and alive and jewel tone green and overgrown and full of life and fruit that is both on the trees and on the ground, and it's been there a little bit too long. And it's just, if you're looking for something challenging and different but expertly put together, this is such a beautiful fragrance, and it smells so good, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit slimy, it's a little bit green, it's a little bit much, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that it's special and exceptional, especially if you like to smell challenging and a little bit different and you want something very complex that really blooms and brightens and works perfectly in summer weather. This one is excellent. So that is my recommendation. In any case, guys, that is my video. I know this video is a little bit different. Again, it is more of a favorites video, challenging scents. These are different fragrances. I didn't want to sit down and do the usual format. Here's 10 fragrances. These are fresh, these are floral, these are woody. I wanted to share some different ones that you might not see, but also ones that I know from personal experience work really well for me. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If I seem a little bit sleepy, I have been working in my yard a lot. It has just been so many rainstorms, and literally all the pine needles and all the branches have just been on the ground. And it takes so much effort to just keep my yard not looking like a vacant lot. So I am just exhausted. So thank you guys so much for dealing with my sleepy face. I would also love to know what challenging fragrances or some of your more lesser expected scents you like to wear in the summertime. Let me know in the comment section below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.